Hey everybody, welcome back. This is HD and it's time for another HD broadcast, and today we're actually going to be watching a special game. This is not going to be a pro game, nor is it going to be a daily ladder. Rather, this is going to be a special show match that was between the University of Waterloo in Toronto and the Bay Area in California where I reside. I actually had the pleasure of watching this played live, and it was a really good series. This is a best of 3, and I have the replays now, so I want to bring it to you guys out on YouTube. If you guys are in Canada, then you guys are rooting for the Canadian here, Slayer's Becco, the Red Terran, and if you guys are in the Bay Area or in the United States, then you guys will be rooting for my good friend Dopa. He's the Protoss player at the top right-hand corner here on Steps of War. Now, I do want to say this show match was decided by a tournament each. So both of these players had to play in a tournament in their regions, and the first place winner of each tournament finally got the privilege of playing in this show match series. So Dopa, he was the one who took first place in the Bay Area, and Slayer's Becco, he was the one who took first place in the University of Waterloo. So this is once again a best of 3. This is gonna be on Steps of War. As I recall, it was a really good series. So we'll keep our eyes out for that. We'll see what happens this game. It looks like Dopa is already getting ready with the action with the probe, doing what all good Protoss players do, is just harass with this probe, then run away when the shields are down and regenerate, and then come back for a little bit more action. So nice job so far with that. Note that Becco is not going to be walling in. He's building his buildings inside his main here, and one thing I do know about Dopa is, oh, the probe! The probe goes down by Dopa, so a little bit of a loss of control there from an otherwise a Protoss player who always controls his units very well. So a bit of a lack right there in control management. But what I wanted to mention is Becco is not walling in here, and Dopa saw that with this probe. And one thing I know that Dopa loves to do when the Terran player does not wall in is he loves to apply early Zealot pressure. And as you guys can see, he is chrono boosting his first Zealot out. The rally point is already set. It is beelining straight towards the Terran main, and Becco here, he is going to see the chrono boosted Zealots, but the question of the matter is, will he be able to deal with it? A little bit of pull control here away for Becco and for Dopa as the Zealot and the SCV cross. Becco sees the second chrono boosted Zealot. We have a third Zealot queued up as well, and Dopa is going to be applying a lot of early pressure to the Terran player. And as you guys can see, Becco is going to try to keep his Marines inside this little nook and cranny. And I'm probably thinking he's going to have to pull SCVs off to deal with this as well. I don't exactly recall what happened. It was a couple of weeks ago, almost a month ago, this game was played. We can see a third Marine out right here, and I think 3 Marines, along with SCVs if necessary, should be enough to deal with this Zealot and the probe. But a second Zealot is now on the way, and we can see a little bit of scoot and shoot micro here. Dopa needs to wait for his second Zealot if he wants to take out these 3 Marines. The first Zealot already shields depleted in the red. Dopa here needs to be careful. He looks like he's going to pick off one of the Marines, and he pulls his Zealot away when it has only 3 HP. So very nice micro and control right there. And now Becco is in a little bit of trouble, because you have to remember, even if you do damage to these Protoss units, all they have to do is pull back, even if they only have 3 HP, and those shields are going to regenerate, and they're going to be just as deadly as before. And now it's down to a very micro moment right now as Becco, he needs to keep his SCVs alive. He's forced to use them to fight off the Zealots, so a couple of SCVs going down, and finally the weakened Zealots going down as a result. I think Becco lost about 3 SCVs right there, and his factory was actually delayed as the SCV building the factory was killed off. So now Dopa transitioning into Stalkers, he's going to continue this aggression, and the Stalker will easily be able to take out those 2 Marines. And Becco, once again, will have to pull off SCVs off the line. He has no Marines out right now. He's struggling to get his siege tank out. As you guys can see, the factory building the tech lab. But Dopa, ever the aggressive Protoss player, is definitely going to not allow that tank to come out. He's gonna continue this pressure and gonna continue to pick off SCVs wherever he possibly can. You guys can see now Becco trying to get a bunker up at his front door so that if he can get some Marines inside this bunker, then he should be just fine. Dopa realizing that he needs to pick off the Marine right now. The Marine very close to going down, and it hops inside the bunker with just a little bit of HP. The Stalker, one of the Stalkers, also going down as a result, and the micro battle continues for both these players. Dopa is just doing so damn good with this early Stalker aggression, but finally Becco gets a siege tank out, and this is almost looking like the old days of Brood War. Dragoons versus siege tanks with Marines with assisting the tanks. And this is just a brilliant game of StarCraft right now. Both these players struggling with this early aggression. Dopa obviously the one who's applying it, and Becco struggling to stay alive. It looks like Becco will finally be able to get some sense of security at his front door. He's got a siege tank now, he's got a ton of SCVs repairing it, and he's got a bunker up. So I think Dopa will finally cool off the aggression. We can see now he's actually getting a robotics facility, and he's still chrono boosting out units. He may actually continue this aggression here. 5 stalkers coming in here. These tanks are in danger of going down. It looks like Dopa gonna focus down the siege tanks. He just walks right behind the bunker. The stalkers trying to micro away from the tanks, and it looks like Dopa kills off both siege tanks. And now Becco is in a ton of trouble with no siege tanks to deal with these stalkers. He's once again forced to pull SCVs off the line, and there has not been a minute in this game when Becco's been allowed to breathe a sigh of relief. He's once again forced to use SCVs to deal with this constant onslaught of stalkers, and we can even see now on the production tab there is warp gate on the way, so this aggression is only going to pick up pace for Donald, and for our Terran player Becco. He needs to think up something, and he needs to think it up fast. He has another tank out right now, so he will be able to clear off this stalker pretty easily. The one advantage right now that I've got to say that Becco has is he has a second command center down, so that SEV gap is gonna close off very, very quickly, and Dopa realizes that. He knows he needs to apply pressure constantly, and once again he slips 5 stalkers right by the bunker, and this siege tank just barely made it out of harm's way. Becco, if he loses this siege tank, that may very well be GG. Becco pulling his siege tank all the way to the back, trying to use SCVs to block the stalkers. The siege tank is only 50 HP, gets a little bit of a repair. A second siege tank comes out right now, so I think that Becco will be able to deal with this. It's going to be very, very close. Dopa not microing his stalkers now, so we can probably take a guess that he's back at home. Macroing his forces right now. We can see that he is getting a Nexus on the minimap, so there's the Nexus coming up. Dopa, while focusing on micro, has always been macroing back at home, the hallmark of any good player in StarCraft. Balancing your micro with your macro and not focusing too heavily on one thing. But this aggression has certainly hurt our Terran player. Our player from the University of Waterloo, Becco, is licking his wounds right now. His bunker at the front could possibly go down. It's once again another squad of 5 stalkers. This bunker will certainly get picked apart, and the Marines inside will easily fall. And now Becco will actually have to lift off his command center. Thankfully, though, he has siege mode, so siege mode is going to help him a little bit when it comes to his front door. But unfortunately, the command center will have to be lifted off. There's not much that our Terran player can do but sit back and play defensively right now. We can see that Dopa still has the harvester advantage, 29 to 21 harvesters. He has never let up on the aggression this entire game. He's got his Nexus up now. It looks like finally Dopa will settle back, and he's gonna settle into a macro style game. He's got his 2 gateways coming up. He's got an immortal. No, scratch that. He's actually gonna push out once again. I guess I can't call Dopa on being passive. He never plays passive. He always plays aggressive. And so Dopa, he's gonna bring in his 5 stalkers with the help of the immortal now, and this immortal, with this unit, he can actually walk right up this ramp and take the siege tank shots very, very easily. We'll see if Dopa decides to do that. It looks like he will push the command center up first, but he is not going to commit to an attack just yet. It almost looks like this is a game of impossible scenarios here, where it's an impossible scenario for our Terran player to survive. Can he get the natural expansion down, and can he get some SEVs there mining it? It's really a struggle right now for Becco, because he's so far behind in economy. He's at 1 base compared to the 2 base that Dopa is fielding. And we can see that he's just struggling to get tanks and Marines out. But once again, Dopa is going to push the front door. He pushes with his Immortal in the front first. The Immortal taking all the heavy firepower shots. And once the shields have been depleted, all Dopa has to do is fall back and allow those shields to regenerate. So very, very nice play thus far. We can actually see that on the production tab, we have Blink on the way. So Dopa is going to actually try to get Blink out here for his stalkers to continue the harass. He may even be able to blink right into the siege tanks, because he does have an observer right here on the ramp. So, wow. Dopa is about to take game number 1 here. Becco, I think he's given up on trying to land this command center. I'm not even sure what he's doing with it. It almost looks like it's the white flag of surrender right now. It's just kind of floating in the air, taunting the stalkers, and really there's not much that Becco can do. I don't think he can land the command center and secure it. I think right now Becco's only option is just to go all in. Pull all of his SCVs off the line, bring out all of his forces, maybe even bring out a hidden Banshee. If he can get a cloaked Banshee, that'd be nice. He's actually going to get a dropship though. But in the meantime, the Stalkers finally have Blink. They blink inwards into the Siege Tanks as the Siege Tanks were firing down on the Immortal first. And that is most likely going to be GG. Dopa's going to take game number 1. An aggressive game for all 15 minutes of it. And Dopa never let out on the aggression, and eventually he was able to break the back of the Terran player. So a very, very nice game. Very well played by Dopa. And we're going to move on to game number 2 between these two players. Extremely nice game. And I just want to say thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to have game 2 coming up right now. HD signing out.